Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone Standard Rotation 2022 is approaching. When the first expansion of 2022 is released, which is going to be late March or early April, we don't have the date yet, then the three expansions from 2020 are going to rotate out of Standard format. So that means Ashes of Outland, Scholomance Academy and Madness at the Darkmoon Fair. And in this video I want to take a look at what Scholomance Academy has provided for the game. Reminisce a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly about this expansion, and think a little bit about the role that it currently plays in the metagame and what we're going to be losing from standard format with this one. So let's take a look at Scholomance Academy. First of all, we have Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter was introduced into the game in 2020, and that's why Demon Hunter received more cards than all the other classes throughout that year. In Scholomance Academy, Blizzard figured out that, hey, we can make fewer cards look like more cards by introducing dual class cards. So in this expansion we had lots of cards that were available to two different classes, like Philosophy here, for example, available to Demon Hunter and to Warlock. And overall these dual class cards actually, they were pretty good success. This was not the first time that Hearthstone had done cards that are available to multiple classes, because during Mean Streets of Gadgetzan they had triple class cards actually, so they had cards that were available to three classes. But this was a much larger batch, much more of these cards, and even though some of the cards look like, okay, this is actually going to be a card for only one class, like Guardian Animals, well, it's like a Druid card, it's not going to see play in Hunter. Actually, some Hunter maniacs have been able to make it somewhat work in Hunter too, later on. But overall, these dual class cards, many of them have been useful in multiple classes, many of them have been very strong, many of them have seen a lot of play. They did make Scholomance Academy seem a lot bigger than it actually was. Although for Demon Hunter it was big, there are actually more Demon Hunter cards that can fit into a single page. I also have another page of Demon Hunter cards here. So the more expensive Demon Hunter cards are these ones, 12 Fiend Trainers and Cycle of Hatred and Ancient Point Hound. And then these Soul Fragment cards, Soul Shard Lapidary, Sociologist Militia, and also stuff like Spirit Jailer, Soul Shear, Marrow Slicer, Shard Center Mystic. This was a very influential Demon Hunter archetype for quite some time, and I have actually even played some versions of Soul Demon Hunter all the way to Fractured in Alterac Valley, and it's still a fun deck to play, although maybe a little lower powered in today's metagame, but still. Sure, the whole Soul Fragment thing means that half of the deck is auto-built from those cards, but there's still something to work with there, and overall I really enjoyed the experience. Other notable Demon Hunter cards from Scholomance Academy include stuff like Mage Hunter. Mage Hunter actually didn't see any play when it was introduced, because Consume Magic from Demon Hunter Initiate set was still around, so Demon Hunter had very convenient, very strong access to silence. But now Mage Hunter is rotating out, Consume Magic already rotated out with the Demon Hunter Initiate set 1 year ago, and that's going to leave Demon Hunter without any class silence cards, unless one of these is going to be introduced to the core set or a new card is going to be introduced for the class. And another very notable card that is rotating out is Glide. Glide is the card that made Demon Hunter the bane of combo decks. Like, you're just chilling, trying to assemble your combo, you have 10 cards in your hand, and then the opponent is going to outcast Glide you, and boom, you're down to 4 cards, and those 4 cards are useless, and then you can't even draw, and you not have your combo anymore, and everything feels bad. So, yeah. Need to kill a combo deck, bring Demon Hunter, except no longer after the rotation, because Glide is going to go away and then Demon Hunter is just going to be a mere mortal when facing combo decks. The other classes don't quite have the abundance of cards that Demon Hunter has from Scholomance Academy. I mean, there's still some really powerful stuff here. Scholomance Academy is perhaps the strongest expansion that's rotating out, and you can see the power creep here. Druid is losing stuff like Lightning Bloom, ouch, Adorable Infestation for all the aggressive decks, Nature Studies, Discounts, and Discovery is just such an incredibly powerful card. Gibbling after the nerf to 2 mana, it hasn't really been a thing anymore, but I mean, Spell Druid, Gibbling Druid, with Gibbling, Fungal Fortunes, Glowfly Swarms also going away with Ashes of Outland, that used to be a dominant force, and just those Gibbelings everywhere, and then it got so bad that it was nerfed, but it was fun for a time. Also, one of the best defensive tools that Druid has had access to lately, Guardian Animals. Guardian Animals pulling those Twilight Runners, Teacher's Pets, Lake Treasures from your deck, then they're rushing in, they're clearing the board, they're making your life much more comfortable, and then you can just proceed with your plan to use stuff like survival of the fittest. So yeah, all of these cards, they seem like such an integral part of what we think Druid is nowadays, that it's pretty amazing that they are rotating out of standard format now. For Hunter, Scholomance Academy was not quite as flashy as it was for Druid. Sure, Hunter has access to Guardian Animals, and nowadays Hunter can even sometimes use Guardian Animals. Hunter got Professor Slate, also a card that didn't see any play really at that point, but now it's sometimes used in Quest Hunter decks. Also, Quest Hunter is making use of Overwhelm right now, and then there are some cards that have seen a lot of play in Hunter, with Volpetinger, Demon Companion, Adorable Infestation. These early game cards, some of the key tools to allow Face Hunter to just go for a very aggressive opener. Obviously right now we also have stuff like Doggy Biscuit and we have stuff like Ramming Mount, but those cards still need targets, and Volpetinger and Demon Companion are some of the best targets around, so we'll see what the Hunter's 1-drop situation is going to be after this set. So while Scholomance Academy for Hunter wasn't very flashy, some of the cards only really saw play later on, but it still gave Hunter a pretty good set of tools. After all, it is one of the most powerful sets. For Mage, there is one tool above all others here, and that is of course Mozaki, Master Duelist. Mozaki Mage OTK deck, it has seen its ups, it has seen its downs. Right now it's actually playable again, and you have got to admit that Mozaki Master Duelist is the mage card from this expansion that has stood the test of time the best. Because a lot of these mage cards have seen a ton of play. Chandy Sparrow has seen a lot of play. Russ Frost Whisper actually used to be good at some point, now it's kind of power crept, so it's not that strong anymore. But yeah, this and Combustion, insane removal piece when it was released. Now rarely used, but that's life. Brain Freeze, Devolving Missiles, Primordial Studies, Cram Session, that's a great set of spells that is still seeing daily play on the ladder. So the Scholomance Academy Mage set was also very strong, and looking at the current meta, Mozaki Mage, that Mage OTK deck is going to go away. That's probably the biggest loss for the current meta. If this Scholomance Academy Paladin set had been in any other expansion, it would be great, but because it was in Scholomance Academy, then it looks like it's actually kind of mediocre. But there are still some very strong cards here. There's Lord Barrow, instrumental in many board clears. First Day of School, one of the most nerfed cards in the history of Hearthstone. Just giving Paladin those random 1-cost minions, it has been adjusted so many times, and even in its current nerf state, it is still a playable card. Goody 2 Shields, pretty sweet 3-drop there. Devout Pupil really shined with Librams. It's going out at the same time as Librams, which is quite appropriate really, because Librams are what made Devout Pupil so good, because you could reliably reduce it to 0 cost, and with Librams gone, it wouldn't be as great anymore, but it's going away at the same time. Hayab's Allura has stood the test of time a little bit worse than the others. Spellburst, cast a spell from your deck, targets this if possible. Always a fun ability, it can be used to build the deck so that there's only specific spells and then boom, get something really sweet out of there, but not really used in the current meta. From the current meta perspective, Blessing of Authority. Buff Paladin is the best Paladin deck at the moment, and using Blessing of Authority means that when Librams are going away, so Buff Paladin is the one that is expected to continue into the next standard meta. But Blessing of Authority is a big loss for that deck, but on the other hand there are still plenty of buffs left for Paladin. And this Priest set, oh my goodness. Also actually pretty interesting to see how many of these Scholomance Academy cards, even though this is a very, very strong expansion, but many of these cards saw play at one point but are not seeing that much play right now, like Disciplinary and Gambling. After you play Minion, destroy it and summon a 4/4 failed student. Okay, that saw play, but it's not really playable anymore. Cabal Acolyte, at one point there was this priest deck with Cabal Acolytes and Wave of Apathy. So you play Cabal Acolyte, you play Wave of Apathy, you steal whatever the opponent has there, and yeah, that was just phenomenal. Also Mindrender Lucia also got nerfed, was very, very annoying, actually stealing the opponent's hand originally, and it was used in control decks, it was used as an anti-combo duel. Then the reason it actually got nerfed was not because it was used in control decks, the reason it got nerfed was because aggro decks figured out, hey, if I just play Mindrender Illusion when I have board control, and the opponent can't actually do anything about it, and then I get to hit face even more. And that resulted in Mindrender Lucia getting finally nerfed. Before that, it was only a problem for control deck and combo deck players like myself, and yeah, its demise came in a surprising way. Also, stuff like Raise Dead, deal damage to a hero, return friendly minions that died this game to your hand. Very powerful card in both Priest and Warlock, by the way. And Draconic Studies, discover a dragon, and the next one costs one less. Ouch, hurts to lose that just when we got more dragons to the standard format. But we'll see whether next year we'll have dragon support or not. And then this rogue set, oh my goodness, how many cards of these have actually managed to see play at some point? Self-sharpening sword. I thought that would be the strongest rogue weapon ever, but then we got the shank later on, so actually it turns out that, hey, Poison Rogue doesn't even need the self-sharpening sword. But at one point we had decks with self-sharpening sword and Steel Dancer, summon a random minion with cost equal to your weapon's attack, and Dr. Krastino, buffing up the attack and durability of your weapon. And you really can't do that sort of stuff anymore nowadays, but at one point that was actually playable. And Chandy's Barrow, it used to be like the epitome, the strongest card you can play. Back then, of course, it cost 5 instead of 6, but still, you jammed that and you summoned those random minions, and then the opponent was like, no, I can't handle this. And Chandy's, even in its nerf state, still sees occasional play nowadays, but its glory days are over. However, there is one card here, one rogue card that is just incredibly powerful, and that card is Secret Passage. Because all rogue decks are more or less tempo decks. Rogue decks always spend a lot of resources in order to maintain tempo in the game. And Secret Passage replaces your hand with 4 cards from your deck, swap back next turn. 1 mana, you draw 4 cards because you're rogue, those cards are always going to be cheap no matter what rogue deck you play. Then you just jam them and you gain so much from that. Just a phenomenal card. Rogue is really going to miss that one because there's like no rogue decks that wouldn't want to play Secret Passage. And also that's one of my thematically favorite rogue legendaries, Infiltrator Lillian. I so like that card, I have put it in a lot of decks even probably when I should not have done so. But just that 4 mana 4/2 stealth, death rattle summon a 4/2 Forsaken Lillian that attacks a random enemy. The whole flavor, the whole lore behind Lillian was, as a World of Warcraft player, is just so incredible that I really enjoy that card and wish it was just a tiny bit better, because it's always been like, it's been borderline playable. Your deck doesn't become terrible by including Lillian, but usually it has not been the strongest option either. The Shaman set in Scholomance Academy was kind of mediocre compared to some of the others, like this Totem synergy stuff, Trick Totem, Totem Goliath. We haven't had a good Shaman Totem synergy for quite some time, and these were not doing that either. But on the other hand, Shaman also had some really powerful cards here, like Lightning Bloom, of course, yeah, that's pretty good. Diligent Note Taker. Actually, it's been one of the weaker performing cards in many of the decks where it's been, but it just feels so bad to leave it out because think of all the value. You Diligent Note Taker and then you can do some spell 3 times instead of 2 times, and it's so awesome. But yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a mistake to put Diligent Note Taker in some of your decks, but just a very flavorful, fun, and like it feels very powerful. Then again, a card that is actually powerful is Instructor Fireheart. Battlecry, discover a spell that costs 1 or more. If you play it this turn, repeat this effect. This has been used in so many Shaman decks. The random stuff that you can get from it, you get to discover, so you have better chance to find something useful, and then you just keep that chain going. It's just, it has won me so many games. On the other hand, it does feel quite bad to be on the receiving end of that Fireheart chain, especially when it goes like Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, or something ridiculous like that. So maybe it is good time to say goodbye to Instructor Fireheart and see if our next power tool can be something a little less random. Scholomance Academy also gave so much to Warlock. It gave Warlock healing, and Control Warlock decks have always desperately needed healing. Whenever there's good healing available for Control Warlock is fine. Whenever there isn't, Control Warlock really struggles. And shuffling all those soul fragments into your deck, then you draw them, you get healing. That was such a welcome breath of fresh air for Control Warlock. Spirit Jailer, Soul Shear, School Spirits, Sociologist Militia, just phenomenal. Of course, later on, all of this would be corrupted into using School Spirits to kill tiny minions that have a death rattle of a big owl that screeches and then just enemies die, and didn't quite do that defensive part that it used to do, but hey, it's all fun and games until somebody has to meet a dead humongous owl. Also, Scholomance Academy, raised it, great card for Warlock. Zoo Warlock used to be a thing back in the day, and Disciplinary and Gambling was one of the ways that you could play Zoo Warlock. Then, of course, the West Hand Warlock and Flesh Giant being the main wing condition of that deck. So Scholomance Academy really contributed to lots of Warlock decks. Then there was this Archwitch Willow. And Archwitch Willow was a bit of a sad tale, couldn't really find its place ever. I actually built multiple Demon Handlock decks around Archwitch Willow. I'm not sure if that was a great idea, but some of them were able to actually win more games than they lost, so I enjoyed that card. I thought it was a fun card, even though it never became a real meta card, but still a tremendously powerful expansion for Warlock. And a tremendously powerful expansion for Warrior as well, because just think about it, the core parts of so many Warrior decks are right here on this page. We have Rush Warrior with Playmaker, with Shield of Honor. We have Big Warrior with Commencement, with Rattlegore. We have Control Warrior with Rattlegore, and with Coerce, and with Lord Barrow. We have early defensive power with Athletic Studies, and we have card draw that was used in a wide variety of Warrior decks with Cutting Class. So yeah, this is one of the more influential Warrior expansions, especially that Rattlegore. That's just such a definitive card of what Warrior has been all about. Only really doing poorly against Priest. If you meet Priest and you play Rattlegore, then suddenly it's going to get Soul Mirrored, and then Priest is going to copy it, and soon Priest will have many more Rattlegores than you do. But other than that, this was one of the peak times to play Warrior, with Rush Warriors, Control Warriors, all sorts of Warrior decks. And when it comes to neutral cards, Scholomance Academy also delivered. The most expensive neutral cards were not that awesome. I mean, Plague Proto-Drake, Onyx Magecrab, some pretty fun dragons. Keymaster Alabaster, usually better if you get it somehow randomly than actually putting it into your deck. Vectus, sometimes used in some Death decks, but never really managed to shine in the mainstream. But the cheaper neutral cards, they were real powerhouses. At one point in the meta, there was a time where Ropes of Protection was used as a tech card. Your minions can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So when opponents were running a lot of spell and hero power based removal, Ropes of Protection, suddenly your minions cannot be targeted and you just roll on. And another one, Voracious Reader. Voracious Reader is seeing a little bit of play right now in some of these aggressive Face Hunter, Drekthal Hunter decks that are using Furious Howl, and then they're using Voracious Reader for some card draw. At one point it was the premium card draw tool for all sorts of aggressive decks, but those days are kind of gone. And yet it still sees niche play to this day. Then we have stuff like Lake Treasure, which was used by Druid to be pulled with Guardian animals. We have Headmaster Kel'Thuzad, has also seen some minor success every once in a while, used in some, for example, some kind of Control Warrior decks. And then Spellburst, if the spell destroys any minions, summon them, you play that, you play some destructive spell, boom, you summon a bunch of minions. Ogremancer, a premium tool against spell-based decks at one point. Doesn't see any play right now, but oh boy, was the ladder full of Ogre-Mancers at one point. And also Lawkeeper Paul Kelt, battle card, reorder your deck from the highest cost card to the lowest cost card. Not really used nowadays, we don't really do that kind of stuff anymore, but back in the day, Galagrond Rogue especially, jamming that Paul Kelt, drawing your Galagrond, playing your Galagrond, making your next cards free, just padow. The power of that card was just insane at one point. Crazy to think that it is not good enough to see play anymore nowadays. And it is the cheapest neutral minions that are the strongest in Scholomance Academy. This is like an all-stars list. Animated Broomstick, Rush, well, give your other minions Rush. A classic card, has been used in Paladins, in Druids, lots of decks that want to defend and clear with minions. Intrepid Initiate, one of the premium aggressive 1-drops. Penflinger. This was nerfed, but back in the day when it could actually shoot face, oh my goodness, that was actually annoying. I'm glad it's nerfed. It should have been nerfed, and it is nerfed, and whew. Okay, well, actually, we don't talk about Penflinger anymore. It's good that it's gone, because oh boy, was that sound annoying. And then we have Tour Guide, Battle Cry, your next hero, power cost 0. Very strong card used in a ton of decks. Cult Neophyte, just a magnificent tool to defend against spell-based decks. If you're playing an aggro deck, you don't want your board getting cleared, Cult Neophyte, delay the opponent, just great. Mana Feeder Pantera, Battlecry if you use your hero power this turn, draw a card. She's playing Hunter, in Demon Hunter, just a very good, strong card. Sneaky Delinquent isn't seeing that much play right now, but it used to be played in various rogue decks. That's stealth, getting more stealth minions, just good. And Woundmaker, Battlecry at a 1-cost spell from your class to your hand, still sees play to this day. This is a very strong set of 1 and 2 drops, and actually that raises the question, like, how are you going to replace all of these? What do we need from the new core set? What do we need from the next expansion to be able to replace this? Or do decks have stuff to play on 1 and 2? Because Scholomance Academy really delivered on getting an explosive start to the game. And I suppose that is one of the main reasons Scholomance Academy is so good, because it gave these decks so many tools to just get started, just start the aggression immediately, increase the pace, increase the speed of the game. And that resulted in a very strong expansion. So, in a matter of weeks, all of those cards are going to leave the standard format behind. Of course, they will still be available to play in wild format. It will be interesting to see what can replace them, because boy, this memory trip back to Scholomance Academy showed that that expansion was totally nuts. I already examined Ashes of Outland in this series before, and I'm going to do one more looking at Madness at the Darkmoon Fair, but Scholomance Academy, that was really strong. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.